And welcome to Crush Your Convo. We're crushing the conversation one episode at a time. I have the amazing opportunity to sit down with Brian Volk-Weiss, CEO of Nacelle Company. We discuss his love of Star Trek, Star Wars, and everything in between. So, without further ado, here's my conversation with Brian. Hope you enjoy. First off, my name is Jessie, and I am from Crusher Convo, where I deep dive Star Trek through the eyes of Beverly Crusher.
Know who
Just
you
be
are?
Oh, thank you. I just feel like her character represents the best quality of the franchise, so I really like to deep dive into that. But I really want to get to know you, so I want to tap into your origin story a little bit. So not only with Star Trek, but the nerd genre in general. Okay, so as a kid, was your earliest memory of loving that nerd culture, was it a video game or a movie? Was it Star Trek or Star Wars?
So it really is the easiest question to answer in the world. It was, I hate to tell you this, but it was Star Wars. I was so young when I saw it. I didn't understand what a movie was. And even though I didn't know the word documentary, the way my mom described the way I was acting after I saw the movie, it was as though I thought it was a documentary because for months and months and months and months, I was talking about joining the rebellion and becoming an X-Wing pilot and everything. And finally, um, my mom bought me a book for 5-year-olds that showed the Death Star wasn't the size of the moon, it was the size of a beach ball. And that that's what began everything.
It began it for me too, so it's the right answer.
Okay. All right.
You're totally fine. Actually, I just grew up loving Star Wars. I didn't even grow up with Star Trek. I only barely saw Star Trek 3 years ago.
Oh, wow. Oh,
Yeah,
interesting. No,
so I'm a newbie.
my mom was a huge Trekkie. Uh,
Okay,
and that's why I'm a Trekkie. She introduced me to TOS. I think every single Next Gen episode I saw but while it aired, I saw sitting on the floor next to her. So yeah, she was the Trekkie.
okay, awesome. Yeah, my parents were they liked the original series, but it was really my husband. TNG was his Trek, and that's it took him 18 years for me to finally watch it, and then he created a monster like all behind me, as you could see. But
Like,
yeah, so I'm curious though, like I know Gates actually asked this question in her podcast, but I was curious with you, like what was your favorite toy? Like, did you have collectibles and things like that?
I mean, my favorite, like, I mean, I was a huge toy player as a kid. I am still quite the toy collector. Holy moly! But I mean, if I had a million toys that meant a lot to me, but I mean, the toy that meant the most was the Millennium Falcon. That was the Holy Grail. I didn't get one until Return of the Jedi. Like it was, and I used to. This is gross. I'm sorry, but not only did I chew and bite my fingernails, I used to eat them. And my mom one day was like, I got a proposal. If you stop doing that, we didn't have a lot of money, and the Millennium Falcon wasn't $1 billion, but it was still pretty expensive for my mom.
Right.
And the deal we made was if I went like 6 months or even maybe more, I would get a Millennium Falcon for Christmas. And I don't think I ever bit my nail again, let alone ate them. After we made that deal, and sure enough, for Christmas, I got it. I have a picture of me opening the wrapping paper somewhere, and that was the most important toy. And I had a lot of important toys. But if I only could
Right.
choose one, that would be it.
That's awesome. My husband actually had a Millennium Falcon too. He didn't have a deal like that, but your mom came through. That was a really good
Yes, she
thing for her to
did.
do.
Yes, she did. Yes, she did.
Now, what is it about Star Trek that you do like so much?
I didn't grow up in a religious family. I was never in the army or the military or anything, and it gave me, for lack of a better word, it gave me a code. To this day, so many rules that I live my life by, the way I've built my business, I truly don't think it would have been, and I'm not exaggerating. This isn't hyperbole. I don't think if anybody considers me to be successful, and I'm not saying and I don't, by the way, I still have a ways to go, but if anyone does, um, it really, I don't think any of it would have happened without Star Trek. It really gave me rules to abide by, that, like I said, as recently as today, have abided by.
I actually agree. I've felt like I've learned a lot from the franchise, right? Just in these last 3 years. And I actually ended up going through a horrible trauma a year after. And I feel
Sorry.
like it's okay. But the thing was, is like, I feel like I learned a lot from Star Trek that I learned how to deal with it. Did all my stuff, my therapy, all that things. But I was able to hold on to something in order to just, be better, right? Be a better person, just be kind and I had a lot of friends that stuck by me who are from the Star Trek community. So I absolutely agree with that. Now, as this is Crusher Combo, I do always have to ask, what were your thoughts on the character of Beverly Crusher? Was she a favorite of yours? Did you prefer Pulaski? Like, was
Yeah, I'll take the easy way out. No, I couldn't stand Pulaski. So that's easy. Listen, I'm going to be honest, as I always am, and I assume I'm friends with Gates, and I've
yeah,
certainly she was actually here in the building yesterday because we're doing something else with her. But here's the thing, the Crusher, in my opinion, is it, and again, listen, I'm just being honest. I could be wrong. Maybe this is sexist. I don't know, but I'm just always honest. For whatever reason, I really think the female characters on Next Gen, kind of weren't the best, the first couple seasons. So, I think there was a moment where Troy became the Troy that I love. And that really, to a certain degree, was didn't really happen during Chain of Command, but after Chain of Command, Troy became the Troy that I love. Everyone seems to forget, for someone who had like nothing to do for 2.5 seasons, she's the one flying the D saucer section, when the star drive blows up. So
yep.
the Troy that would go on to be a pilot during a hull breach, was not in existence the first 2.5 seasons, in my opinion. And I would argue Crusher, maybe not as bad as Troy, but Crusher definitely went from being this kind of like sexual tension character for Picard, who every now and then did some doctor stuff, to becoming the doctor, who also was an officer, who every now and then had a little sexual tension with Picard.
Right.
It's funny. I love Attached. It's one of my favorite Star Trek episodes. And it's funny, I also, even though it's not a huge Crusher episode, she does have, I think, the best moment in cause and effect, because it's literally her with the glass who figures everything out. So she, she became like, I like confident characters. I like characters that do their own thing and, have their own vision, and they're real. They say what they think. And also, I tend to lean towards badasses. So I think the longer the show went on, and then especially when we got into the movies, she became more and more and more of a badass. They talked more and more about her being an officer. She did more and more officer stuff. And it really, the more that happened, the more that I really started to really love her character. Long answer,
And
I'm
I
sorry.
No, that's the perfect answer, actually, just because I think what I liked about season three of Picard is that they highlighted those moments that we always knew that the character was and that we
Yes,
didn't really see very much. But I love you mentioned cause and effect because we believe that is a Beverly Crusher episode. As much
great.
as everyone had their place, it was really
Yeah.
Beverly that was front and center that kind of got everyone to be like, this isn't deja vu, and it's one of my favorite episodes, to be honest. So and attached for obvious reasons. Um, but I know, so we're going to actually fast forward a little bit. So I know Gates brought you as her plus run to the Picard premiere.
She
Okay.
sure did.
So I gotta ask, how are you feeling when you got there with the cast you essentially grew up with?
I mean, it's just crazy. I mean, I'm
I
just being
bet.
honest with you. Everything's crazy. Like the fact that we're making the toys is crazy. I cannot put it in. I mean, I can't put it into words. It doesn't. I feel like such a rambling moron whenever I get asked this, and my answer is just crazy. But I cannot believe any of this is happening. We made this documentary called The Center Seat. We made it ourselves. We financed it ourselves. I directed it. And it really was in so many ways like it shouldn't have happened. It was the first thing to a certain degree we really financed ourselves. And now we finance pretty much everything we do except for the stuff we do with Disney. And but Center Seat was the first time ever I decided to do it. And I won't get into the reasons why but I mean, I won't get into the business reason why I did it, but on the emotional level, it's not a coincidence that the first time I spent millions of my own dollars on making a TV show without a buyer, um, when I greenlit it, I don't think it's a coincidence that it was Star Trek. In the toys that made us a Star Trek episode, um, I mean, it was just one of the most joyful experiences in my life. And the idea of doing that for 11 hours was just magical. I mean, just absolutely magical. And everything started with that. We met Gates through that. And everything else that would come to be of our connection to Star Trek started with this homemade documentary.
I love that you mentioned the center seat because when I first started watching The Next Generation, I dove deep. I literally binged the whole show in like 2.5 weeks and
Nice.
saw the movies. And then I actually listened to Gates's podcast. And so it got me to kind of understand about, I love behind the scenes. I love docuseries. I love learning, especially how things are made and stuff like that. And so when I heard about the center seat, I was like, oh, I gotta watch it. I think I've watched the center seat over and over again, like 5, 6 times.
Thank you. Very kind.
I I absolutely love it. It's one of my it made me actually love the franchise even more. And I think I might be able to speak for so many people. Every time everyone's like, if you love Star Trek, watch the center seat. And I absolutely agree. I actually even have I bought the DVD just I was like, I really like this. I could watch it. It's very enjoyable, and I loved how you guys edit it with the animation and it's just something that you can just watch and enjoy. But when you guys were making that, what was the biggest thing that you learned from the series?
Oh my God. Uh, I learned,
So
I'll tell
many.
you this, I'll tell you this, I'll tell you this. It's a long list, by the way. I learned that Khan Baby was real. Do you know about Khan Baby?
I know about Spock Baby, but I don't think Con Baby.
So you're not even going to believe me. You're going to have to Google this.
Oh no.
Not going to believe this. So believe it or not, in the Star Trek II Wrath of Khan script, and they filmed this. Um, in the script, there was a baby. One of the refugees, part of the Khan troop family, whatever, had a baby. So the whole movie, on SETI Alpha 5, later on the Reliant, you see this woman with a baby. And then the Reliant gets all shot up, and they lose their impulse drive. Then they lose the nacelle, and it's all bad. And as Khan is fiddling around with the control to turn on the Genesis device and everything, I mean, you're not going to believe this. Um, they filmed a baby crawling, because it's a baby, crawling through the hallways of the Reliant while it's on fire. And better than that, it crawls into the transporter room. And you probably know what was sitting in the transporter room. And it literally crawls up on the pad because the Genesis device is all lit up and babies love lights. And like literally, there's a fucking baby, like practically hugging the Genesis device when it
Oh my
explodes.
gosh. Oh my gosh.
And it's filmed. And the way we even knew that it sort of might exist is there's one picture. There's literally a picture from when they're making the movie. It's a black and white picture, and it's literally a baby like on the pad. And there's a lot of debate for decades over, did a crew person have a baby on set and the baby was just chilling out and it was a cool picture,
Yeah.
or and it turned out that yeah, it was in the script, and there was a con baby. Yeah.
Wow. And then as it
And
goes on, oh, lights,
crying.
and it's crying.
And I'll be honest with you, I always assumed it was a crew person's baby.
Yeah.
I never thought they would write a scene where a baby gets blown up by the Genesis device. But apparently they did. Yeah. So
I'm,
I don't
I'm,
think we have to wonder why that got cut.
I, I can only imagine.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. I mean, they thought it might work, and but I'm glad they were like, you know what? Maybe,
Yeah. It was a
maybe
good,
not.
yeah, kiss a lot of frogs.
Exactly. Oh my gosh, I love that story. So, kind of going back, so you are essentially Kate's boss, I guess, since you
Oh,
met her in this.
she calls me that, and I hate it.
You
Uh,
hate it? Okay,
I,
we won't call you
I
that.
am not her boss. I am not her
Well,
boss.
you
I
were part
employ
of her
her every
project.
now and then to do things. But no, she always says that. It's so funny. But no, I'm not her boss.
We'll scratch that from the list. Don't worry. You are just someone helping her with the podcast. Let's say that.
I'm not the
Um,
producer. We're the studio.
yeah. So, what actually made you come up with Investigates, and why did you think that Gates would be really good at in the
I did
podcast?
not come up with Investigates. Gates came
Okay, there.
up with Investigates.
Okay.
And Gates, this was what happens to us all the time. We put a press release out saying that we were doing podcasts. Gates said she had an idea for a podcast. I was a manager for 10 years, so I worked with talent, as a manager. And one of the things I learned from that is, it's my job to be super duper careful about who I get in business with. But if I choose to get in business with somebody, it's really my job to support their vision. So Gates had the vision. It really was all hers. We just serviced it. We produced it and released it and distributed it and all that. Yes, but I mean, it really, when I say it was all her, it was all her. This is not me trying to be a nice guy and humble. It's the truth. I mean,
I
if
believe you.
sky's blue, grass is green. It's her show.
I absolutely I love that she edits her episodes.
Uh, to say that's unheard of would be an under. And by the way, just so you know, that's all on her. That's her choice.
Yeah.
Uh, we all our other podcasts we edit.
I mean, she is the kind of person that loves to learn new things, so it doesn't surprise me.
No, she's the best. And what I always tell people about her, if you don't know her and you don't get to spend a lot of time with her like I have, she is so funny. She
She
is
is.
truly hysterical. And it's a real, it's real. If you had told me, my one regret is, my mom had passed by the time I got to know Gates. It was all right around the same time, so it's very sad in that regard. But it's very surreal. Like I said earlier, I distinctly remember my mom sitting on the couch, I'm laying on the carpet watching those shows. And if you had told me Gates and her son would come to my house for dinner and meet my wife, and I'd be her plus one at the premiere, like it just, I mean, to say I wouldn't believe it, it would have been an understatement.
Oh, absolutely. I can only imagine. I've met Gates a couple of times. I remember when I saw her in Vegas, she came around to see me and I was introducing her to my daughter and my husband and she was like, "Oh, your daughter." And she says hi. And then I was like, "Oh, this is my husband." She's like, "He's not important." She's like, "I'm fucking joking." It's okay. I was like, "I got it. It's okay." My husband didn't care. He's just like, "You can say whatever you want."
That's right.
That's who he grew up with, right? He was just
Right.
like, "We're cool." Now, this is non-Trek, but I've just watched Game Changers.
Oh, cool. Well, I hope you liked
Loved
it.
it.
Thank you
I
for,
loved
oh,
it.
great, great.
I was actually watching it with my husband, so that was one cool thing. How you've been talking about, you sat with your mom watching Star Trek and stuff like that. You're kind of creating stuff for families to get together and watch as well. Like I actually saw The Center Seat with my mom. I watched Game Changers with my husband. So you're creating a family environment. So what is your inspiration to do all of these different docuseries?
So it's weird. It's like I'm like a lot of people. I mean, we're talking about tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of people. Um, I I love what I love, and you could call it what they call it these days, pop culture. You could call it whatever you want it, content, whatever. But I'm a very curious person. I am really curious about anything I don't know anything about. And one of the things that like attracts me to things is like I'll give you a great example. I was watching what was I watching? I was watching what's her name? What's her name? She's like the most famous interior designer who's ever lived. I'm just having a complete brain fart.
Oh, you're asking the wrong person.
Don't think too much. She's like literally. She's like I think like just turned 80. She's got short hair. She's like the most famous one. Like literally the
Oh
most famous.
gosh. Interior
Martha Stewart.
designer.
Martha Stewart. Martha Stewart.
Oh gosh.
So
Okay. She just turned 80?
something like that. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
So
Okay.
and this is a great example to answer your question. I don't know anything about Martha Stewart, but I have known her name pretty much my whole life. And my wife, she's like, "Hey, I think you'd love the Martha Stewart doc." So I watched it, and I have become little mini obsessed with Martha Stewart. I Wikipedia'd and Googled her for hours after I watched it. I've now read one of her books. Like, I am so curious about really two things in general. I'm curious about a billion things, but they fall into two categories: massive success and massive failure. And if you look at everything we do, I would say 98% falls into either category. And I'm not a huge gamer of video games, though. I mean, Monopoly is definitely my jam. But I find it so interesting, just the premise that anything, video game, movie, TV show, song, any of these things that come out that become successful, there's probably, depending on the genre, between 100,000 and 10 million people that tried to do the same thing and failed. So, why does Martha Stewart succeed? Why does Minecraft succeed? Why have we been playing Monopoly for 100 years and not the other games that came out the same year Monopoly did? So I'm always interested in these big famous things that 10 people from 10 countries that speak 10 different languages can all relate to. And they all know the word monopoly. They all know the
Mhm.
word Fortnite. Like, and that's, and We have a whole list of topics we want to cover. We want to do a music show and like the best albums. How did those like I saw the movie, what's the movie called about Queen? Um
Oh, yes, with Freddie Mercury.
yeah.
About Freddie. Yeah, yeah. I can't remember
My
what it's called.
favorite scene in the movie is how they came up with We Will Rock You" or Bohemian Rhapsody, where they show
Hmm.
the whole thing about how that song got created.
Yeah.
No, Rocket Man. I never had any interest in Elton John whatsoever. By the way, I also had no interest in Queen. I'm now a huge Queen fan. I'm now a same thing with Johnny Cash. Johnny Cash, one of my favorite singers of all time.
Yeah.
I got dragged to Walk the Line. And then the girl who brought me within a month, I was a bigger fan than she was. So I just love these things that are so big, but people forget there's an origin story. People don't know, for the most part, the twists and turns. Like having built my own company, I'm very aware of how delicate success is. And if you look at everything we make, we really are shining a spotlight on how delicate success is. And it's like, listen, you might sit here and be like, wow, Fortnite's making 100 million a day. A, far from guaranteed that would ever happen.
Right.
B, it could end tomorrow. There's
Yeah.
a supermarket chain, depending on where you grew up, you probably haven't heard of, called A&P. Have you ever heard of A&P?
I did not know.
So A&P, which is pretty much only in Massachusetts now, maybe Vermont too, A&P was like as big, if not bigger, than like Tesla is today. Like the way people talk about Tesla or Apple. Apple's a better example. The way
Yeah.
people talk about Apple today, that's how big A&P was. And they were a supermarket chain.
Wow.
You've never heard of them.
No.
But Monopoly's still getting played. Star Wars just turned 50. Next year, Star Trek is turning 60. It's not a
Hmm.
guarantee these things are going to keep going. So that's how we choose these iconic topics, but try to show A, how they got there, but also B, how delicate the road was to get there.
Oh, I love that answer. I grew up with actually it was a market in California called Lucky's, and ever if you ask anybody today, they'll be like, I don't know what you're talking about. I think Albertsons bought them. I have no idea, but it was like that was our shop. So I actually kind of understand that. Now I actually have just two more questions for you. It's about your toy line, actually. So your toy line is officially on its way, and you came out with the first wave of different characters. I know when you were on Trek Movie, you explained about Jellicoe and Garrick. But why did you pick the others to be in your first wave? And just so you, I would love, 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 and I love you mentioned Chain of Command. If we had a Black Ops Beverly, that would be so cool. Just say it, just throwing it out there, just some ideas. But why did you pick those other characters for your first wave?
I picked, well, so I'm going to give you two answers. I'm going to give you the broad context of why, and then I'll talk about the actual characters. So the broad context is why, is this. So as you may be aware, we are not the first company to make Star Trek toys. So we operate within this environment, this kind of ecosystem where we can't pretend what came before us didn't happen. So like the four companies before us all have in common the lines didn't last very long, and they all had Kirk and Spock and McCoy and Picard and Data, and every now and then they'd throw in a Uhura or a Guinan or whatever. Um, so I knew that. And I also knew what Playmates, who had the license right before us, did. Um, so I wanted to say to the community on day one, we're not like everyone else. And by the way, I just want to say those are all great companies. Super
Hmm.
7, great company. Todd McFarlane, great guy, great company. These are great companies. But when it came in Playmates, great company.
Right.
But I didn't buy any of the Playmates figures. So why would someone like me, who named his company Nacelle, not buy any of their Star Trek figures? So I knew I wanted to start in a way that was different, night and day from everybody else. So that's why we started. Like I saw people joke like, "Boy, Brian must hate profit." And I don't hate profit. I love
Uh,
profit. Profit's
right.
fucking best. Can't do what we do without profit. So, but that's why we did that. And then the actual figures we chose, I chose them partially because either they had emotional resonance to me, or I knew they had like Tuvix is a great example. Like I'm not some big crazy Tuvix fan. In fact, to be honest with you, before we picked them, I rewatched the episode because I hadn't seen it since it had aired. Um, but Tuvix was a part of like modern Star Trek dialogue, you know? Like I follow a million Star Trek Instagram pages and everything. Everyone's making Tuvix jokes in 2024, 2025. So he's part of the conversation.
Mhm.
Wei that was easy. I don't know why he wasn't made. You've probably heard me tell this joke before, but you know, there's a Playmates Tom Paris, but there's no Tuvix. There's no Jellicoe. There's no Garrett. Like,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Salamander, Tom Paris. So yeah, so that's and the one I got the most grief for was Valkyris, but like I wanted to do a Klingon. I wanted to do a Klingon that had never been done. I know she's only on screen for like 210 seconds, but it's such a great scene. She's the
Hmm.
first female Klingon ever in a movie. Her wardrobe and her style obviously affected every female Klingon ever made, even in Next Gen and
Yeah.
Voyager and everything that would come up until, and I would argue, including Discovery. Like you
Mhm.
could, so why wouldn't we do her? So yeah, and then like on a personal note, I was obsessed with Andor when it came out, and I'll never forget. My wife is Taiwanese, and my older son looks 90% Asian, and I think really relates and considers himself Asian. And I'll never forget. I was sitting there watching Andor one day, and my son at the time was 6 or 7, and he goes, "Dad, come there's no Asian people in Star Wars?" And that's you said you have a daughter. I mean, that's a gut-wrenching question. So
Yeah.
it was really important to me that to have diversity of Star Trek brands, but also have diversity of races, which with Star Trek luckily also includes aliens. But and also the story behind why Star Trek 6 opens with Captain Sulu. Like it was just to me, it was a no-brainer. Like I knew the minute we got the contract. So when we got the contract, the only ones in my head I knew we were doing was Jellicoe. But as soon as we got the deal and I knew I had to come up with six more, Sulu was the first.
Oh, absolutely. It's an iconic scene too. Everyone always talks about the teacup Excelsior. People even love that teacup, right? So,
He comes with it.
yeah. Oh, there we go. Perfect.
Any for your thoughts?
I actually have one from Ed from My Figure Universe, who I'm sure you've seen on Instagram.
Yeah.
Hey, this is Ed Pogue, My Figure Universe on Instagram and just about everywhere else. And I had a question for Brian. The question is this: with the upcoming figure line, have you thought about accessory packs? Perhaps additional, I want to say, bonus packs to go along with the figures outside of the figures themselves. Perhaps along the lines of how Super 7 would sell weapon packs for their GI Joes or for their turtles, to use as an example. Have you considered something like that for the Star Trek line? That's my question. Love the figures, looking forward to them, looking forward to everything.
Um, Weapons packs, no. Accessory packs and accessory. I mean, again, as you know, we did a fishbowl for Jellicoe. We did the entire Genesis device suite for Valkyris. I don't know if you still can consider those accessories, but we have ideas that we are discussing with Paramount that are physically bigger than anything we've done with Valkyris or the fish tank or whatever. So I mean, you know this as well as I do. Star Trek, and even though I'm really a Starfleet Trekkie, like I'm not a Klingon Trekkie, I'm certainly not a Vulcan Trekkie. Um, I am a Starfleet Trekkie. I have every Federation ship Eagle Moss made. Some Klingon, some Vulcan, but I don't know if weapons is what we would be doing because there actually aren't that many different kinds of weapons in Star Trek for Starfleet, but we definitely will be doing some accessory packs that are standalone things if Paramount allows us to move forward with them, and I think and I hope they will, but it's not guaranteed at the moment.
Okay, yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time, Brian. I'm so happy that I got to finally speak with you. I've been a fan of yours since I saw the center seat, and I am so grateful for everything that you have done. You truly are a fan of Star Trek, and a lot of fans thank you for everything that you're doing.
Well, thank you for your interest, and I hope I see you in Vegas.
I will be in Vegas. I'll see you there.
All right.
Thank you guys for watching. It was such a joy to talk with Brian. One of the thing is that he just loves what he does and he loves the franchise. And so it was just really great to get to know him. But before I go, I did want to add a couple of things first. If you guys are a fan of Kitty on Borg ships or even a Borg computer, please go to Cherry Tree Incorporated and use my code CrusherCombo6 to get 6% off of your order. And that is at mycherrytree.com. Follow them on the socials at Cherry Tree Incorporated. They are a wonderful company. They even have a Recto Geno mug right now. It is awesome. And yeah, use my code to get crush some savings there. And my Patreon shoutouts go to Chuck, Leslie, and Dave, who are my Starfleet Commander patrons, and Engineer Mark, who is my Admiral patron. If you would like to support the podcast, just head over to patreon.com/Crusher Combo, and you can sign up for as low as $3 a month. Thanks again, guys, and tune in next week as I sit down with Joe from Captain's Quadrant as we discuss DS9's Take Me Out to the Holosuite. This is my tribute to Jackie Robinson, who is my favorite baseball player, and it's just a few days after Jackie Robinson Day, so I kind of wanted to combine the two. But yeah, see you next week, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Live long and prosper. Bye, guys. Don't forget, you can listen to all the audio versions of Crusher Combo on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Good Pods, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can support the podcast by buying merch on TeePublic, buy me a coffee by scanning that QR code, or becoming a Patreon member for as low as $3 a month. But the best way to support Crusher Combo is to like and subscribe here on YouTube. You can also find me on Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, or TikTok, so please follow me there. And of course, all this information can be found on CrusherCombo.com.
Crusher out.